Welcome to Market AM Sentiment. This is where we quickly break down what's buzzing in the market.
That's right. We've gone through a whole stack of recent reports.
And today, we're doing a deep dive specifically into the company stocks getting the most attention right now.
We want to see where investor focus really is.
Exactly. And based only on what these sources are saying, we'll try to gauge the sentiment. Whether it feels like these stocks might be pushed up or down.
Sticking strictly to the facts from the reports. No crystal balls here.
Okay, let's get into it. First up, Coinbase. That name came up quite a bit.
It certainly did. Coinbase is very prominent in the discussions we reviewed.
And the feeling seems, well, not great.
Yeah, the immediate sentiment seems largely negative. Multiple sources are pointing to this significant cyber attack.
I saw headlines on that. What are the potential costs?
Well, the estimates for fixing the breach and reimbursing customers are pretty wide, somewhere between $180 million and potentially $400 million.
Oof, that's a substantial hit. Is that the only issue?
No, not quite. At the same time, there's news about an ongoing SEC investigation.
An investigation? What about?
It concerns user numbers they'd previously reported. So you've got the cyber attack and regulatory scrutiny happening together.
Wow, that's a tough combination for any company.
Definitely.
But isn't Coinbase also getting added to the S&P 500 soon? That's usually seen as a positive, right?
It is generally a long-term positive, but it seems the market's focusing on the immediate problems.
How so?
Well, the stock actually closed down 7.2% despite the S&P news. It suggests these negative factors are weighing heavier right now.
Okay, so a lot happening with Coinbase. Let's switch gears. Walmart was another name frequently mentioned.
Yes, Walmart came up repeatedly, and the main theme there seems to be concern.
Concern about what specifically?
Mostly around tariffs. They issued warnings that higher tariffs could mean higher prices for shoppers.
So they might have to pass those costs along, even a giant like Walmart.
Exactly. And while they actually beat their earnings forecasts for the April quarter,
which sounds good on the surface.
Right, but they also flagged substantial uncertainty for their fiscal 2025 guidance.
And that uncertainty is linked to the tariffs?
Tariffs and other economic factors, yes. And interestingly, they decided to just stop giving quarterly earnings guidance altogether.
Whoa, really? That seems like a big move.
It is. It definitely adds a layer of, well, unpredictability for analysts.
Makes it harder to track their performance quarter to quarter.
Precisely. And the CEO, Doug McMillon, basically said their retail margins are too tight to just absorb all the tariff pressure.
So the overall feeling is cautious then, because of potential price hikes and this guidance change.
That seems to be the read, yes.
Right.
A more cautious sentiment surrounds them right now.
Got it. Okay, next up, Deere. Their news felt like it might signal something bigger about the economy.
That's a good point. Deere's situation does seem to reflect some broader concerns. They reported some pretty significant drops.
What were the numbers?
Revenue down 16% and profit down 24% for their second fiscal quarter.
Wow. Are those drops across the board or in specific areas?
They're seeing big impacts in key segments. Production and precision ag profit was down 21%.
Okay.
And their construction division profit fell even more sharply, down 43%.
That feels significant when farming and construction pull back like that.
It often suggests a wider cooling off in capital spending, exactly.
Are they expecting this trend to continue?
It seems so. They updated their outlook for large ag equipment sales in North America.
Yeah.
They're now forecasting a 30% fall.
30%? That's huge. What are they blaming it on?
They mentioned higher interest rates, weaker grain prices, and just general softening demand, especially in construction.
So yeah, that definitely paints a more negative picture regarding big capital investments.
Clearly negative sentiment there, yes.
Okay, so we've hit Coinbase, Walmart, Deere, all facing some headwinds, it seems. Were there other companies catching attention?
Yes, a few others popped up with notable sentiment shifts. Applied Materials, for instance.
What was the story there?
They met expectations, but their forecast was a bit lackluster. They mentioned potential costs from the U.S.-China trade issues, and kind of a negative sentiment driver.
Anyone else?
Take-Two Interactive. Their shares fell because their revenue forecast was lower than expected after a game got delayed. Negative again.
Right. Delays often hit gaming stocks.
Then there was United Health. Big drop there, 11%, after news of a DOJ investigation and the CEO resigning.
Definitely negative sentiment drivers there. Seems like a lot of negativity floating around.
A fair bit, yes. But it wasn't all negative.
Oh. What were the bright spots?
Well, Richmond, the luxury goods company, their stock actually climbed 7%.
Why was that?
Strong sales from Cartier, apparently bucking the trend of a generally softening luxury market. So, a clear positive signal there.
Interesting. Any other positives?
There was also a mention of industrial stocks generally doing better. GE and Deere, actually, despite its own issues, were highlighted.
Why the improvement there?
Seems linked to an easing in U.S.-China trade tensions. The sector actually became the S&P 500's top performer for a bit.
Hmm. But you mentioned Deere's negative outlook earlier.
Right, so there's maybe some skepticism about how long that positive industrial trend will last, especially given individual company headwinds like Deere's.
So putting it all together, Coinbase, Walmart, Deere facing issues, some mixed signals elsewhere. What's the overall sentiment from these sources?
If you synthesize the feeling around those most talked about names, Coinbase, Walmart, Deere, it really does lean towards caution and negativity.
Because of the specific things we discussed. The cyber attack, the tariffs, the sales decline.
Exactly. Those specific reasons, the regulatory stuff for Coinbase too, the guidance uncertainty for Walmart, they seem to be driving the prevailing mood in these reports.
Okay, so purely based on this collection of sources, what might this sentiment imply for near-term stock prices?
Well, again, based only on this information, the weight of the negative news and cautious outlooks suggests there could be potential for downward pressure on these specific stocks in the short term.
And we have to stress, this is just interpreting the sentiment found in these specific reports.
Absolutely. This isn't financial advice or prediction beyond reading the tea leaves of the news sentiment we reviewed.
Not predicting the future, just analyzing the current mood based on the chatter.
Precisely. While we noted some positives, like Richemont and the industrial sector bump, the concerns around those heavily discussed individual companies seem to dominate the narrative in this batch of sources.
Right. So to wrap up this Market AM sentiment deep dive, looking at the most mentioned stocks reveals, well, a predominantly cautious, even negative sentiment.
Driven by things like cyber attacks, regulatory issues, tariff worries, and signs of an economic slowdown affecting company results.
That was Market AM sentiment. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for your attention.
And here's something to think about. We see challenges hitting these big, prominent companies. Given how connected everything is, how might those ripples spread to other sectors you're watching?